Welcome to Charging the Agency Frontier. Today I'll be interviewing Brice McBeth. Brice is the founder of Reap Marketing, a digital marketing agency that hired itself to build an e-commerce business and optimize its own conversions by over 950% on its way to creating a multi-million-dollar store that disrupted the salon equipment industry. Brice wrote about the journey in his book, which I have a copy of actually right here, Salon Chairs That Don't Sell Themselves. He speaks and provides education on the topic of conversion rate optimization to help companies get better results from their current marketing efforts. I'm thankful for his time today. I also think you've rebranded from remarketing to Reap Commerce recently.
In the process of doing that, yeah.
In the process, okay, yeah. Corey had mentioned that, so I wanted to make sure we get the right brand, the right name. Okay, so I've asked Brice to come on the show and talk about 3 ways that you are losing clients as a marketer, as an agency. And really the one thing that can fix it. And of course, we'll talk about other things as well. But before we get started, can you kind of introduce yourself, add a little bit more color, a little bit more backstory, background on who you are, where you came from?
Yeah, well, this may be obvious, but I studied Chinese in college. That naturally led me to an internship with IBM where I helped launch the first web analytics software sold as a service. So it's like back in the 1900s before Google Analytics was invented.
Yeah.
Provided a lot of consultation around that data with large Fortune 500 companies and helping them understand how to make better decisions about their web marketing using data, which was crazy at the time. So our group.
You don't look old enough to have been. That's crazy.
Thank you. Well, I'll take that as a compliment. Appreciate it. So our group ended up coining a lot of the nomenclature that's still used today between unique visits and page views and stuff like that during a day when people were still just counting hits. So anyway, those were the days. Left at some point to go work on the client side and put a lot of these practices to test. Discovered that there was this missing piece in the agency world. Where at the time there just wasn't a whole lot of people focused on conversion optimization and turning web traffic into sales. And there were plenty of agencies that did a great job at, branding and driving traffic and eyeballs and likes and engagement, but just not enough people that knew how to get a better result with the existing traffic that was already being generated and turning that into leads or sales. So started Reap to do that. And as you alluded to a while ago, we have found after 10 years of this that we do great work with all kinds of industries, restaurants and B2B and real estate, among them. But, e-commerce is just so marvelously measurable. And we've kind of hit a groove with that. We're introducing a lot of services around like Amazon optimization and ad management, helping a lot of e-commerce brands sort of break into the Amazon space. We're going through a little bit of a rebrand just to sort of reflect some of that shift. And we'll be launching Reap Commerce here before too long here.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. So we'll dive right in. So the first question is, really the topic. What are the 3 ways agencies and brands are losing clients?
Yeah. And this is just, a lot of this just kind of based on my experience in working with a lot of agencies and taking over some projects from other agencies. We do a lot of cooperative work with agencies because we don't do everything. We're not full service necessarily. So a lot of agencies call us in to help optimize some of their existing efforts, or in a case where they launched a new website and they discovered that they've somehow destroyed the conversions. Like this client was happy with their own website relaunch and all of a sudden it's just not working. So what can we do to fix it in a state of crisis? I'd say the first thing, the most obvious thing in my mind, I have a program called SEO as a Hoax, which tends to ruffle a lot of feathers in this industry. But the point is not that you should not do SEO. It's just that we've got this over-reliance and over-emphasis on getting all this free organic traffic. And in my experience, a lot of time that's a lot of wasted effort and time and budget trying to build content to rank, and you're competing with the likes in my world of like Amazon and eBay and Wikipedia. It's just, number one, it's just really hard. Just acknowledge the people who are really good at it, like what they have to do and what they have to go through to get good results. But even with that, even if you're successful with generating traffic, a lot of times it doesn't convert at the rate of other, many other sources include paid search. So I think number one, for me and my personal experience and with my clients is an over-reliance on things like SEO, efforts like SEO. All I can tell you is that the clients that I'm working with, when I look at their attribution models, a lot of it has to do with a blended solution, including but not limited to SEO and paid search. You usually find that the best converting traffic has at some point in the past 90 days had multiple touch points with, from 9 or 10 different sources. So it really is kind of this omni-channel. It's kind of a buzzword, but it really is kind of relates back to that. And sometimes even as an analyst, I have to kind of let go of some of the data to let the real world kind of do its thing, let the energy kind of work itself out. So that's a long way of saying the first thing in my experience is kind of this over-reliance on SEO. Number two in my experience is, during the rebranding process, and we might even find ourselves falling into some of the same traps, so we'll have to be cautious of this. So I'm not just pointing the finger here, but I think during a rebrand or a site replatform, refresh, things like that, we can fall into the trap of making ourselves happy and proud of our work, and asking the client like what they would like to see in the website, and that becomes a little self-fulfilling. And along the way, a lot of times as agencies, we forget to ask not the client, but the client's clients what they need, and remind ourselves what we have learned through our different tests and different campaigns and different things, experiments that we've run over the years to inform the design, instead of just getting caught up and getting approvals from the higher ups because they're the highest paid person in the organization. And they said they wanted the logo bigger, so we're going to make the logo bigger. I think that's just from a conversion perspective. If you want results, that's not the right way to design a website. So the way to address that a lot of times is to, number one, reflect on a lot of the lessons learned over the year before you get into the design. And then number two, when you create new concepts, is to potentially test it alongside the current website to validate the design before it actually goes live through a controlled A/B testing environment. Number three, I'd say, like maintaining status quo. And I kind of like think of two examples of that, like being, number one, managing budgets. I think a lot of times we ask the client as agencies, well, what's your budget? And then whatever the number is, like that's a license to spend that money. And we show up in our meetings and tell them how we spend it, instead of, trying to use that money to invest in finding opportunities. And then when you find an opportunity, speak up and say, hey, I spent this money and I found this result. Either it didn't work, I'm going to have another idea on how to fix it, or it worked really well. What's your credit limit? We should increase the budget. And as like common sense as that sound, I just don't see a lot of agencies and media managers having that hard conversation, because usually it's the media managers having the conversation. It's not really their job, and it's uncomfortable to ask the customer to spend more money. But the reality of it is somebody's getting paid on those transactions. And if you're doing something that works, the client should double down if they can.
Yeah, do more of it.
Yeah. And then also with that status quo comment, I would say our, running things like monthly reports, especially when they're just scheduled or automated. A lot of times that's just looking in the rear view mirror about what we did last month and how many visitors and the bounce rates and whatever the sort of nonsense numbers are in there. That was kind of a snarky comment. I don't mean to say that's always not important.
I get what you mean.
But
I've received my fair share of those types of reports. So.
They're just so high level. They're not really, a lot of times they're not actionable, right? Yeah. So running reports and just kind of looking in the rear view mirror about what happened, instead of digging in and finding a stat that will drive a new and different action. And then I'd say sort of the other thing would be falling into a trap of, telling a customer that something's a best practice. And I see this all the time when we take over, trying to optimize the site is, we've got a form on the website and the client wanted the form to be short as possible, or we told them that the form should be short as possible because that's best practices. And I think there's a lot of best practice, like I'm gonna use air quotes here, like there's a lot of best practices that are out there that are founded on like really solid thinking, but aren't really true, or something has changed and they're not true today. And that I have a lot of case studies that we've run, a lot of tests and experiments we've run where we've determined that a longer form actually converts better than a short form. And it's not because people don't like to fill out long forms. It's you have to match, in some cases, you have to match the amount of information that you're asking for from a visitor with what the expected outcome is. So like Robby, if I told you that like I was a bank and you're applying for a mortgage and I sent you a form that just asks for your name and your email address and I'm going to approve you for a loan, like would that make any sense? Like, would
it's the same thing with the application for our agency match platform. I mean, we have to ask enough questions for agencies to feel comfortable that we are vetting these agencies. I mean, they're going to want to see those questions versus a short, form.
Yeah.
So,
you have to have an offer and you have to ask a certain number of questions to be able to offer it and to personalize it and say yes or no. So the form has to also be believable and match the sort of intensity of what you're asking for. So I think there's a lot of these best practices that we just kind of like, regurgitate because we heard them from somebody else that seemed really smart. So we just keep saying it. Or
totally. Yeah.
So
the agency world too is, sort of an echo chamber. So everything just kind of bounces around. So yeah, I could definitely see. Well, those are some great deep insights. That's awesome. Another question would be, what are the most common mistakes agencies and brands make in their digital efforts and their website? Maybe something you haven't touched on.
So repeat the question for me. What are some of the mistakes they make?
Common mistakes agencies and brands make when it comes to their digital marketing, their websites, some of the key areas where they make the wrong decision.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying about like kind of managing budgets. Budgets can be a license to spend and you set it and forget it. You put the sort of budget in the drawer and don't look at it again until the quarter or half year passes and you check in on it and realize that you're just kind of wasting a bunch of money in many cases. Being really maniacal about like trying to make sure paid search pays for itself, or we're chasing rankings through SEO. Like I said, all I can say is I can go back to a lot of these attribution models for businesses that are doing really well. And you might look at any one channel and it's not like working perfectly, but you look at the mix of things and the Venn diagram on the attribution model shows that a lot of this stuff is working together. That people have several different touch points along the way. So I think especially agents, the thing that comes up for me in terms of agencies, in addition to that is, and I guess this applies to businesses and brands too, is we're humans, we can't help it. But like we defend ourselves, number one, as agencies, we defend our retainers, especially by like justifying hours. Like we'll sell hours and then show the client how many hours we spent doing something. And I think that's, as a client, I never liked that because I couldn't control how fast people worked. So it was like $5 an hour. Like, that sounds awesome. $80 an hour. Okay, I can make it work. $800 an hour. Like, well, how fast can you work? Like, if you can work 50 times faster than the guy that charges me $100 an hour, then that's great. So like hours is a old like way to kind of like come up with a rate that everybody can make sense of. But in reality, if you can like come up with something that's based on the value that the client's going to get by hiring you outside of like Facebook followers and likes and visitors and clicks, then maybe the discussion is around like value-based pricing, which people talk about like trying to implement, but they don't really do it. Then you get out of having a defender retainer, and you can have this honest conversation about what's working and what's not working, and the client and the brand can collaborate on the solution. And I don't know if maybe this is the next thing that clients and agencies are getting wrong is that, a lot of times clients will hire an agency and say, I hired you, like, make this work. Like, you're the guru. And I find a lot of cases that's a really unfair expectation for an agency. Like, the client knows their business better than anyone else. Why would you just pay some agency, whether it's $1,000 a month or $200,000 a month, to solve their problems? And it doesn't really work that way. The client has to bring their expertise about their business to the table. The agency has to bring their expertise to the table. And the collaboration about that, back to the Venn diagram, where those overlap is where the magic happens. So the next step beyond that I'd say they're getting wrong, in my opinion, is, I guess it sort of like relates to the defending the retainer, is the willingness to be wrong. And you can't get away from that, like when you're doing conversion optimization, especially A/B testing, because everybody involved with an A/B test, ABC test, multivariate test, whatever you're running, has to be willing to, like, speak up with their idea, put it into the system, and watch the numbers prove that your idea is just really bad. So 65% of all A/B tests that are run result in a failure, which means most of our ideas as marketers, like, they're not very good ideas, or they're like great ideas, but like the visitors don't respond to them the way that we thought they would respond. But it's not until you're willing to, like, see that data that suggests that that's not working before you'll find the real answer. So I think the willingness to be wrong is probably like the big thing for me. I guess that's what bubbles up to the top, because if you can figure that out, then all these other conversations kind of take care of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, do you think? All the things you said, I resonate. From value-based pricing. That's, to me, I totally agree. I think the majority of agencies would love to have value-based pricing, but they're not there whatsoever. They're really time and materials kind of thing. And that's because I think a lot of agencies can't justify the value. They don't know how to justify the value. They don't know how to bring in the results and be accountable to the budget to that extent. I think there's a huge gap there in the marketplace, and it's interesting because that's what CMOs want. Is they want the numbers, and they want the ROI, the results that speak for it. And not the fluffy reports that just give a bunch of statistics but don't actually say what we're adding to the bottom line. So I think those are great points. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to mention to you, I think a good way to kind of like toe dip into that for agencies that are struggling with it and trying to figure it out, especially for agencies who are working with, because I don't think this is just an agency issue. This is like the client issue too. They can't get out of their own heads about what they're willing to pay for and what their maximum rate that they pay out on is. But a way to like start to get into this for someone trying to make a transition, might be something like establishing some sort of like, not just a value-based deal, but maybe establishing some sort of bonuses. Like, okay, maybe you're paying me per hour, but if we accomplish a certain goal, like whether it's getting the website launched by a certain date, like if I can get it done early, maybe there's a bonus. Or maybe, if I get X number, help you get X number of sales as a collective effort, a collaborative effort. Like we're not saying we're the only people that are driving sales, but if we help you obtain this number, there's going to be some additional payout, whether it's $1,000 or $100,000 or $1 million, whatever the bonus is. A lot, in as much as I, would not sell work that would be for the purpose of generating like social media followers or likes or whatever. Like if that's your agency and client finds value in that and they have some correlation between likes and revenue and it's worth it to them, then establish them, okay, if I can get these things for you, would you be willing to, if I can exceed the number, would you be willing to pay a bonus so that I can motivate my employees? Everybody wins in that case.
Yeah, and I think brands in that case also, tend to love that kind of situation because now the agency has true skin in the game and is incentivized to to actually get there. So definitely that makes sense. Okay, so from I've wondered with conversion rate optimization, obviously this is going to vary depending on, scale of the company and need. But yeah, in terms of CRO, like how much money do you need to put aside towards conversion rate optimization if you're a brand, if you're a, say a mid-sized, Fortune 1000, I mean, how much money is being spent in this area or should be kind of allocated to the overall marketing budget?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I think that can be in a, certainly a range. And you have companies that, if their traffic warrants it, they're running, 100 tests at any given time. Another, small business that can't get through, one A/B test in the course of, 30, 60 days. So I guess the first part of this question, you have to think like, so CRO encompasses more than just A/B testing. It's a suite of practices. It's the conscious effort of trying to get better results with the existing traffic that you already have. So that could be just checking things in analytics and fixing basic things that are getting in the way of somebody converting. Could be building new content. It could be optimizing the ads. It could be running A/B tests. It could be coming up with brand new ideas and running an experiment to see if it works. So it's kind of hard to substantiate that, because I do think that a lot of content is intended for that purpose, but the purpose gets kind of lost. So it's really hard.
Maybe a better question is, for your agency, what's kind of the range of deal size or retainer size for CRO activities?
Yeah, and we even have programs where clients are paying us on a smaller retainer to consult or to coach them through how to do that, and that can really be $1,000 a month or whatever, or some sort of audit that gives them a deliverable just for a few $1,000s to help them see where their opportunities are and kind of go off on their own and address them.
You could do that with agencies as well if they had clients in mind that they wanted to engage you to be coached and look at do an audit and see where there's opportunity.
With a one-time deliverable, and then those usually generate like dozens, if not 100 or more ideas that each are worth a lot of it can earn an agency tens of thousands of dollars in extra work, so way more than pay for itself for the agency. And most of it is really designed around getting better results for the client, so the client's going to get the benefit for it as well. But we have clients that range in scale from $2,500 a month to $20,000 a month to do a suite of things to help increase their conversions or promote their products, manage your Amazon stores. So it can range, but there's definitely some low-hanging fruit there with getting some sort of analytical perspective on what can be fixed.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. Any success stories just from your seat at the table with clients and partnerships with other agencies that you'd want to talk to?
Yeah, I'd say I think one of the biggest things I don't have I'm thinking, kind of going through my sort of mental inventory of recent projects where we've teamed up with other agencies to come up with new ideas that benefited both of us. And my mind immediately goes to like video. And I don't have a video staff or anything that does that work, but all I can tell you is when we've partnered up with other videographers and people who do a really good job with video marketing, we found that people are, so sort of, I guess the industry numbers are, people are 400% more likely to view a video when the exact same content is written on the page. And after having, watched that video, they're 65% more likely to buy, without getting to like, a bunch of different specific experiments we've run. All I can say is that when we've run that as a test, we've been able to substantiate those numbers, and that video is very engaging. People are very likely to watch video, and after having done so, it absolutely increases the conversion rate. So as much as we can afford to like bring in partners to produce video, as explainer videos and product videos, notice like sites like Zappos.com won't even launch a product now without a video being a video product review being included as part of the photo reel. So, and their videos aren't even really like that magnificent, other than it just kind of brings the product to life. Yeah, video is really compelling, and we've run experiments that kind of corroborate that.
That's good. That's actually good. I've been thinking about shooting a video for agency match and the value of it, and just because oftentimes, I might give my pitch to, a new business director, and then it's shared internally, and it'd be great if there was a video so that could still engage, and that would help conversion. So it sounds good.
One other thing real quick, just since, the sort of pool of agencies out there are probably pretty large, but we're running with another agency right now, a client, where they're going through a redesign process and they're expecting this process to take a year. So as these concepts are rolling out, what we're doing is we're taking these concepts and providing an audit against it so they can make sure that the design meets a certain standard and they don't get caught in the trap of just getting the client's approval because the client likes it. And we're also running some of the design concepts as landing pages for some of their paid search campaigns, just to vet the idea and just make sure that this new design is not going to shoot the client in the foot. So that's another really good way to work with a design agency or branding agency. If nothing else, kind of number one, as an insurance policy to make sure that the new designs and new concepts aren't going to destroy anything that's already working. So kind of an insurance policy. And then also, if it does work, like, what better way to substantiate exactly how much better this new design is going to work? Hey, we're so happy to deliver this new site to you because it's awesome and you love it, and it has proven to increase your conversions by 312%. Like, how great would it be to, as a design and branding agency, to be able to tell a client that it made them feel good, and it's going to put more money in their pocket. That it's totally going to want to pay for itself. So that's another way that we work with agencies.
Love it. All right. Well, some great information. This is awesome. I think there definitely will be people that will want to reach out and get in touch with you. What's the best way? We'll show your URL and logo and all that good stuff. But is your email the best way, or?
Yeah, you can reach out to me or my group at Brice, BRICE, at reapmarketing.com. You can also reach my staff. You could copy or reach out to them at hello@reapmarketing.com. And then soon here within the next couple weeks, hopefully you can find us at reapcommerce.com. So all those emails that come through our website come to our staff, and I get copied on that as well. So looking forward to hearing.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for the time. I think got a lot of value out of it. So we'll definitely appeal to our audience, and just appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Robby.
All right.